ورسوله الكريم أما بعد. I'm sure all of you have heard the name of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, great Imam of Hadith, the compiler of the most authentic collection of Hadiths, or we can say the most authentic book after the Quran. Everyone knows him as a great scholar and a master of Hadith, and there is no doubt about this. But what many people don't know is that he was born blind. And usually when someone is born blind, there is not much that anyone can do to cure them or to treat them. But Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, who had lost his father as a baby, his mother was an extremely pious woman, used to make a lot of dua for him. And after some years of crying in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she saw Ibrahim alayhi salam in her dream. And in that dream, he gave her the glad tidings that your son is going to be okay now, go and check. So when she went to wake him up, she found that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had restored his eyesight. And then in a very short time, people found out that how gifted of a person he was. He had what we can call a photographic memory. He would read something once or hear it once and he would never forget it again. People doubted his expertise and his mastery of hadith and this amazing memory that he had become so famous for. So once while he was in a big gathering in one place, they said, we're going to check out this person's memory and see if it really is what it is. Does he know as many hadiths as people say he does? Because in some reports it's mentioned that he knew 600,000 ahadith by heart with their chains of narration, with the whole chain of narration. And some reports have mentioned that he knew even more than that. And so they said, okay, let's see what a great muhaddith he is. So a hadith was read, a chain of narration was read, and after that the hadith was read, and they said, what do you say about this? He said, I don't know this hadith. And all of a sudden, in the whole crowd, there was a big, ooh, ah, look at that, we thought he was such a great muhaddith, he doesn't know that hadith. Then they said, okay, well, read another one, let's see if you know it. Then the next hadith was read, the chain of narration, all the narrators, so-and-so narrated from so-and-so, from so-and-so, from so-and-so, from so-and-so, from such and such sahabi, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They read that whole chain of narration and then read the hadith, and they said, what do you say about this? He said, I don't know this one either. And then a third one was read, and a third one, and a fourth one, a fifth one, a sixth one. Like this, it went on until 10 hadiths were read by the same person, and he said to every single one of them, I don't know these. Then another person started reading hadith. He read one in the same way, and another, and to each one he kept saying, I don't know this, I don't know this one, I don't know this one. And this went through 10 people, each of whom recited 10 different ahadith with their chains of narration. And he said to all 100 of them, I don't know this hadith. So then they said, then who are you and what are you? People started making a lot of noise. He said, let me explain. And he pointed to the first person. He said, you started with this hadith and you read it this way. But you have jumbled up the order of the narrators. That's not how the chain of narration goes. It actually goes like this. And he repeated the correct chain of narration with the hadith, and he said, that's the hadith. Then he said, then you read this hadith. And he first repeated the incorrect one, and then corrected it, recited it, and went to the third one, read the incorrect one, then the correct version, and like this, he went through all 10 of them. Then he went through all 10 of the next person, and the next, until he went through all 100 narrations, which he had memorized the incorrect version that the person had recited just once, and of course he knew the correct version, and that's when people realized what a great muhaddith he was. And Imam Bukhari rahimahullah was also a very talented archer. And it is said that he would hardly ever, imagine somebody who was born blind, becomes this expert archer who almost never misses. In fact, people who grew up with him and spend their lives with him, they said, we've only seen him miss his target 2 or 3 times. On one of those occasions, when he was out, he fired his arrow, and he shot that arrow with such force that it missed the target, but it struck a bridge. And it hit the bridge so hard that the ties of the bridge got broken because of the strike of his arrow. And then when he went to see, he said, oh my goodness, I've damaged this bridge. Can you imagine somebody who shoots an arrow so powerfully that it damages a bridge? Then he said, who does this bridge belong to? He said, well, we don't know, it's a bridge. Who would it belong to? He said, no, I'm going to find out who built this bridge, who owns this bridge. So then he went on this search to find out who is the owner of this bridge. And then he went and he said, look, on such and such occasion, I shot an arrow which accidentally did this damage to your bridge and I need to compensate you. When the man found out who it was, that this is Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he said, no, there's nothing for you to compensate me, and so on and so forth. He said, I forgive you for the sake of Allah. But Imam Bukhari rahimahullah insisted. One of the things, and you'll find this common with all the great people of this ummah, with the high level of knowledge was also a very high level of taqwa and piety. It wasn't that they were banks of information and their life was flimsy. No. One of the reasons why this book, Sahih al-Bukhari, has such acceptance is the amount of diligence that went into it. Before Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi wrote any hadith in that book, he took a bath, prayed 2 rakats, made istikhara, and then decided if I'm going to write this or not. And he did this process for every single hadith that's in there. There are some 7,000 plus ahadith in there. He did this for every single one of them. Can you imagine how much diligence? Going to make a fresh ghusl, a bath, then pray 2 rakats, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if there's khair in this or not, and then document it. Normally, you would just verify the information. Does this look good? Yeah, it looks good, it sounds good, I'm going to put it down. But their ilm, their learning ilm and spreading ilm, to them it was an act of ibadah, it was something sacred. When they went into their class, when they went in front of their teacher, this was an act of ibadah that they were doing, so they took it very, very seriously. And they would not be the kind of people who were distracted. They would focus. And there's nothing that could deter them from what the teacher is saying at that time. So a high level of knowledge is only useful if it comes with a high level of piety, and that comes together when we acquire knowledge with a high level of adab. The more adab we have for our ilm, for our teachers, for all of the things that supply us, that source our knowledge, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up. It's not just about reading books and memorizing books. Every page, every paragraph, it's checking to see what is your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How are you going to use this to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And someone who approaches knowledge that way, every minute in class is a sacred minute. Every minute with their teachers is something important. Every day opens up new doors of wisdom and new doors of knowledge. So read about these people. I'm just giving you very brief glimpses in these short sessions. Read about them. Read their lives. Read how they studied, how they grew up, what their works were, what their problems and trials were. And inshallah, you find a connection being created between you and them. The stronger the connection is between you and those people of the past that we look at as our models, the more likelihood of you following in their footsteps. May Allah give us tawfiq. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi.